All right, everyone. So, welcome to the Indie Unplugged. I am your host, B Vaughn, and today I have an amazing guest with me. I have Celeste Debo. Celeste, welcome to the show. Glad that you're here.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, give it up for Celeste, y'all. That's right. Give it up. Give it up. That's right. So, I have. I'm going to read Celeste's bio, right? Because there's some things in here that we're going to talk about today. Some things that I
Okay.
didn't know that I found very interesting. So we're going to talk about it. So let me read her bio, right? Because I'm not trying to remember. I can't memorize people's bios. So Celeste Debo, originally from Nashville.
hmm
I didn't know that.
Can
Uh,
I tell you my last name is Deborah?
oh yeah. Well, why do I think it was Debo? Is okay. So it's Deborah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I didn't know that. I've been pronouncing it wrong all this time. Okay, so Celeste Debo,
Yeah.
originally from Nashville. She is a prominent music supervisor, talent manager, creative consultant, and advocate for independent artists. She is the founder of Tap Management, coaching artists on how to balance their personal life with their professional careers, which is so crazy important. That's crazy important. We're going to talk more about that. This is what I found interesting. She holds a master's degree in conflict management and a certification in music supervision from UCLA Extension. Celeste has contributed her expertise to a variety of television shows, including Zatima, Young Dylan, and films such as Mia Kupla or Koopa, which I haven't seen yet. Right? I heard it was good, I haven't seen it yet. And All the Queen's Men. Alongside her supervisory roles, she co-hosts the Fresh Wave podcast, providing strategic guidance to emerging artists. Her dedication to music and its artists makes Celeste Debro, see how to make sure I say that right? A respected and influential figure in the industry, continually pushing the boundaries of music supervision and artist advocacy. Yeah, I'm,
That's
I'm
it.
super excited to have Celeste. So as I do with all my interviews, we got to start at the very beginning.
hmm
Go back to the beginning. So can you, like, I like to write my questions down. So can you share about the role music played in your life from an early age in Nashville and how these experiences shaped your career growth?
Um. Well, as my mom would put it, I only dance to jazz in the womb, so it's kind of innate. I was kind of like born with this situation, so I didn't really like, it's nothing I like fell into. It's just kind of like in me from an early
hmm
age, and like I guess my earliest childhood memory of going to the studio was like 5. When we went in kindergarten, we went to RCA Studio B,
hmm
and I just remember being in there, and they had all of the, it was way more instruments in the studio back then because you had to make all the sounds, and
Right.
I just remember it being like the coolest place in the world. Like, it was definitely a core memory. Like, how is this even possible? Like, what happens here? How do I get back here?
hmm
And then, they would tell us like, oh, Dolly Parton recorded here and things of that nature. So um I think that's like the earliest shape. And then I got in the band when I wasn't even supposed to be in a band. I got in a band
Mm.
earlier than I was supposed to be because I just had like this itching of like, how do I make music? How do I do this
hmm
thing? And so shout out to my band teacher, Mr. Holly.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh, he basically let me try all the instruments to see which one worked best for me.
hmm
So he taught me how to play flute. He taught me how to play clarinet. I tried drum set. I tried saxophone, and I landed on the trumpet.
Yeah,
And I
that's.
fell in love with the trumpet. And
Mm.
then after like a couple years on trumpet, he needed somebody to play baritone horn, and I was like a person that could read music. Um, and so he was like, "You're gonna learn how to play baritone," and the rest is history.
Yeah, yeah. Because that's good though. That's good. Because I was going to ask that, like, how did you get to learning how to play the trumpet? Right. So first, let's go back. Let's go back to the whole jazz thing. Like,
Yeah.
so I'm assuming your mom was a big jazz fan.
Um,
She loved jazz.
she she noticed she was not like a huge jazz fan. Now my mom did put me on to like Incognito, Orchestra. Those were like her type of jazz things. But like my mom is real big like Prince, Parliament Funkadelic. That's what I grew up on. Luther Vandross and gospel, basically. Like that's the like top four, I would say, from her perspective of like that's her type of jams, you know, music or whatever. Funk was really big. But she just noticed, like, you know, I guess that's what I personally clung to is like the jazz.
Okay.
Yeah,
that's interesting. That's interesting to find that out, that as because music shapes our youth, right? And so if you grew up in a home where your parents were constantly listening to music, that kind of impacted you to listen to
well, yeah. I
music.
mean, I got influences from all around. So, my musical taste as a kid was very eclectic, I guess, for like a kid. You know what I'm saying? Like my friends will tell me, like, man, you was always listening to something we wasn't listening to. Like, like why are you talking about Bob Marley in the 6th grade? Like, no one was like, you know, listening to that type of stuff. But then I had like older cousins putting me on to Goody Mob and Common, and you know, none of my peers were like really listening to that type of stuff. And then I started getting into like Martha and the Vandellas, LaBelle, Billie Holiday. I'm listening to all of these things as like a kid. So it just, I just kind of forged my own way too, but like with the help of like everybody around me and so many different like influences.
Yeah, I think I think what I find surprising is that other people find it odd that as Black people that we listen to actually other music. Like we don't just listen to funk music or hip hop or R&B. Like when I was in high school, I was listening to rock and roll.
Yeah, I
like
mean,
Metallica.
Right. I don't
Guns N'
know.
Roses.
It's so, I guess it's so like odd and kind of taboo because, you know, they kind of separate. They wanted to separate us from like, this is Black music or race music, you know, or this is white music. But it's like, no, it's all just music, and it all makes you feel something. And so it doesn't matter who's performing it.
Right. I sure was listening to Nirvana and Guns N' Roses, Megadeth, and Metallica.
Yeah. I mean, middle school 90s rock was like crazy.
It was crazy.
It's crazy. Like
it's still crazy. I still listen to it today.
It's amazing. It's one of the best eras we'll ever have in rock music. You know what I'm saying? And so, yeah, that was a part of the makeup. It was No Limit and 90s rock.
Exactly.
You know what I'm
No
saying?
Limit,
like
90s rock.
That's where it was.
That's right. Yeah, I don't know why people always find that to be odd. The producer, you probably know him, Siege Monstrosity, had posted up something about music he used to listen to, and he was like, I don't know why people find it weird that I used to listen to this type of music because music is music. And I commented, I was like, bro, I don't get it either. It's like something that's taboo. Like, why do you listen to other? And I guess that, you know, that we have that adage that Black people don't do certain things. We don't ski, we don't swim, we don't. And it's like, well, why not? Those are just activities.
True. So I mean, but you know, I'm jamming out to, you know, Herbie Hancock too, and my friends are not.
Exactly.
But you know,
I did a lot of things my friends didn't do.
Right. Exactly.
They were like, "Why are you listening to that music?" Because I like it. That's why I like it.
Yeah.
So then you went to the trumpet, and then you went to baritone, and then which I didn't know, of course, that you were actually in a band in school and that shape, because you know when we started working together, it was more from the music business side,
right,
versus an actual creative side.
Yeah, I'm a creative first.
Yeah,
so,
see, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so low brass, you know, basically first year all throughout middle school through high school. Got in the college band for a hot second. It was not the same.
It wasn't like drumline, wasn't?
Well, no, but my high school was.
Oh, okay.
So, you know, college, I was like, I've been here, done this. Y'all ain't doing nothing. I'm good. So,
so the high school bands were better than the college band.
my particular
Oh, your
one
particular high school band was better.
better experience than my
Oh.
college band experience. I will say that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then I started producing, songwriting, and I did that for a long time just because I like doing it. I didn't even know what to do with it. It didn't even matter. Like I didn't know where the tracks were going to. I didn't know where the songs were going to. I was just doing it because it was just kind of like innate. And then I got tired of it because I didn't know what to do with it. And I just stopped.
Wow. You still have them?
Yeah. I have a catalog worth of music that is just chilling.
Wow.
I got some plans for
notebooks?
it now.
Yeah, notebooks.
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 I actually, when I went to grad school for conflict management, which we'll talk about, I wrote like 180 songs in 3 years.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's kind of, it's just like.
That's a lot.
I know, like throwing up music. So, but then I was like, I don't know what to, like, why am I writing? I had no idea. Like what
were you writing about?
All type of stuff. But I like to write from a perspective of like other people's stuff because like, I mean, I don't think my life is like that interesting, especially not back then. But I like to use other people's scenarios and like, you know, kind of write from their point of view. I'm an observer, so I like to make up stories about people all the time. Like, oh, what is this person going through today? Like, oh, it look like they just, you know, rolled out the wrong side of the bed, or, you know, whatever. I'm just making up like random stuff about people I don't know. But it helps in songwriting. So.
Oh yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Wow, that's yeah, I used to have notebooks. So I used to write music in high school.
Yeah.
And then it got stolen.
Oh.
It got stolen by
sad.
So back in high school there was this guy, I'm not gonna name his name, but I will remember his name.
Name him. No, I'm just playing.
I would you know, honestly, that is something that I think, not to segue into something else, I think that happens in the music world is that people have experiences with other people. And some people are just bad people.
This is very true.
And when people are asked about those very bad people, they're very hesitant to say who those bad people are. Whether it's fear of retribution or retaliation or whatever it may be. They're just...
Well, most of the time it's because that's not the most important thing to mention. You know what I'm saying?
Like if that person's a shady person, like
it is
robbing
nice
people,
to know.
Like,
you know, it is nice to
call him out. I'm gonna call you. I'm not calling him out.
Don't
Haven't seen him in for, but he's. But,
I was just joking.
But but he ended up stealing all the. So we were like a duo. He was the rap guy. I was the R&B guy because I sang in school, and so he was like, "Oh, I'm the rap guy." He was really good at it, singing. I was really good at it, and then we would write these rap type songs, and then he eventually stole all the books.
So did he make it?
No.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, maybe what we wrote wasn't good. I don't know.
Maybe.
But he didn't make it.
Or he didn't have the sauce because you wasn't with him no more.
I don't see where he's at. So,
yeah.
He did steal him though. That was heartbreaking.
Yeah. When you put on all that work, it's like your hard drive crashing.
It is like a hard drive crashing. You lose all your stuff.
Start over.
I had to start over. But I'm a guy, right? So I wrote songs about girls in high school. Oh, this girl turned me down. I'm writing a whole song about that. Whole song about that. Right? Oh, I like this whole song about that. So I think, and maybe from your perspective, for me, I think the best songwriting comes from experiences that people go through, which I like the perspective of writing about other people's experiences and things that they go through. Like, for example, one of my favorite albums, which is sitting over there in my album collection, is Mary J. Blige's My Life album. Classic. I don't know why people don't think that's...
Man, she pulled that. Man, let me tell you something about Mary J. Blige, man. Like, people can say what they want to say, but this lady puts every ounce of emotion into her music, into her performances. And to me, that's what makes Mary Mary. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's why that album was so, like, I don't even know how old I was when My Life album came out, but not old enough to even really understand the weight that she was singing, but you felt it.
You felt it.
Like you crying like somebody done did you wrong.
Right.
And I ain't even, I've been like the 7th grade or something. You know what I'm saying? I ain't been through none of that. But yeah, you feel it all, man.
Yeah. And I just love the fact of the pain that she expresses in that album. I actually personally like My Life better than What's the 411.
Yeah.
A lot of people are like, what? You crazy. That her first album was a classic, but yeah, but that
it
second
was
album,
the first album was, but that
second album was
it was a cement.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh yeah. And I think as we're talking about songwriting, that it comes from that because she was going through a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
And I think some of the best music comes from those types of experiences. So
absolutely.
Yeah, but I didn't know you were creating. Like I said, when we first started working together, putting together the steering committee for AIMP ATL, I didn't really know anybody in the room except for Greg. That was it, because he was like, I need you to be here. I was like, all right, I'm going to be there.
Right.
But yeah, and so then we started working together on some more stuff. But I am interested in some other things about you. So how did you go from being a creative to now transitioning into working with artists and being so let's start there first. How did you transition from going from writing songs and being a creative to now working and advocating for artists?
Well, when I left undergrad at Southern Miss to the top.
Southern Miss to the top.
To the top. I moved back home and went to Lipscomb University.
Okay.
And I thought I was gonna get my MBA because like you get out of school, we still in a recession. Like nobody knows what they want to do with their life. Pretty much, like can't really get no jobs. That's the time period it was. Right. So I'm just like, well, what shall I do? I should go back to school. And I thought I was gonna get my MBA. I just knew that was like something cool that people said you can get it like a job. So I was like, okay. But then I ran across conflict management. And I was like, what's this? So I started reading and I was like, this is like my personality as a master's. Like I can get a master's in my personality. I've always been the one to try to like diffuse conflict, problem solve, help, do all of this, for pretty much my whole life. So I was like, wow, this is kind of cool. And so I still wanted to be in the industry, and I just thought it would be cool to learn how to manage conflict and apply it to the music industry.
Yeah.
So that's why I got into conflict management. It was literally to see how I could insert that into the music industry. So I thought it was going to be like, oh, I'm going to work with bands and, mediate their conflicts so they could stay together. And like, I don't know, I was like making up stuff because, that's what you do. That's what you do when you don't know. You make up a whole lot of stuff and you try to see what sticks. Right. My teacher was like, so how you gonna get to the bands? And I was like, I'm gonna just go to the labels. And she was like, oh, okay. So that's a part of conflict management, is helping you, asking those questions to help you work out the conflict. Right. You know what I'm saying?
That's right.
So I was like, well, maybe she knows something I don't know. And she really didn't know anything about the music industry, but she's great at her job of being a mediator and a conflict management person and a facilitator of stuff that's going on in your mind. So she makes you think outside of these boxes and all of these things. So I said, okay, well, what's out here? Like all I knew, honestly, was like people on the radio. I didn't know anything outside of that. I grew up in Nashville, and Nashville is not the Nashville it is today.
Right.
So Nashville is a small town, okay? Like where I grew up, it's like a city, but it's not a big city. There's no like exposure to a lot of things. There's not a lot of things to do. That's the Nashville that I grew up in. Then I go to school in Hattiesburg, Mississippi. Less exposure. You know what I'm saying? From all the other stuff that you do. So I didn't even know like indie artists existed until she asked me those questions. I had no idea that people could even like sing that I didn't hear on the radio.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know.
Mm-hmm.
So I started going to like Reverb Nation,
Mm-hmm.
and I like found all of these people, and I think this is around the same time my cousin Marsha sent me this girl on MySpace, right?
MySpace days.
And the song was called Cindy. And I listened to it and I said, oh my God, who is this person? She's the future of music. And that person was Janelle Monáe.
Wow.
Yeah. And I was like, this is amazing, you know? And so it's like just discovering all of these like underground people. I was like, why don't they have like where they at? You know what I'm saying? Like, how do these people emerge from like,
Yeah, like
how come they not on the radio, or how come they not, you know, getting the same opportunities? And so that kind of just kind of led me down like a rabbit hole. And then I started talking to different artists. This is when the 360 deals were coming out, and I was like, I was like, the record labels are in trouble if they have to come out with something like this.
Right.
So I just started like really getting into like learning music business outside of like the conflict management. I was, you know, the classes and stuff that I was going through, I really started like digging into music business and learning about music business. And yeah, so I just like was basically in like 2 schools at the same time. So I'm just learning about PROs. I'm starting to learn. I'm like, oh, this is it. This is, so I'm trying to like problem solve as
you're going.
Yeah. So I'm like, what's up with the independent artists? Like, why they not, you know? And so that's kind of what led me to helping them plan their regular life versus their creative life, because a lot of independent artists have jobs or they're trying to get a foothold on the industry, so they have limited resources. So that's kind of just what led me to have a passion for indie artists and trying to figure out how to like problem solve with them from like a grassroots level.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. That's awesome, because there's not a lot of people out there that do that. It was very interesting when I read. I was like, conflict management. One, I didn't even know you could get a degree in conflict management.
I recommend it.
Yeah, I didn't even know you could do that. I was like, a degree in conflict. How do you do? They gotta now. I'm like, they have college courses on conflict management, but to get
it's a whole degree.
whole program.
Yeah, it's a whole program. I mean, we had politicians, firefighters, pastors, doctors, because you can literally apply these tools to any industry you walk into.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there's a whole process to how to manage conflict appropriately.
Man, it's a whole process.
A
whole process. But the number one thing is communication. Period. Yeah. So learn how to communicate.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Everybody.
Everybody learn how to communicate.
Everybody.
Communicate effectively. There's a process.
Yes.
Of how you communicate effectively.
Yes,
right.
Yes.
But that's kind of the same thing for myself is, so I got into, I know I in my interview, but it just makes a nice segue to it. I went to school for organizational leadership and training, right? And so that's what my whole career has been for the past a whole bunch of years. I don't say how long, many years it's been, 20, almost 25. But so now that's what I was doing, was taking what I learned from corporate America and about organizational development, leadership, human resource management, which includes things like conflict management and stuff like that, and apply all of those courses that I'm certified in and all those different learnings that you can apply. And how do I apply that to the music industry? Like, because I love music first, but I got all these skills that I've learned. So how can I apply it to this? And that's kind of when I was managing artists, that's kind of the thing that I was helping them do, was to say, okay, here's how you effectively plan. Here's how you go through the process. And they were like, wow, wait a minute. How do we do this? And they had no clue. I was like, and first of all, I was like, how do you have no clue? I was like, wait a minute. But I had to think like, well, I know this, but they may not necessarily know it.
And that's why I like, well, I'm not gonna say I like, but to me, it's like I understand both sides because I'm a creative too.
Right.
So it's just like creators, they not supposed to always know that You find like
right.
unicorns that can handle both,
Right.
but most people can't.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you put all your power into the creation, and that's why you need the other side,
Mm-hmm.
because you know, I mean, if they could do it all, they could do it all.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah.
You know, but that's why you need the business, and that's why you need the creative.
Right. Right. And I think it's funny that people find out that I'm actually on the creative side too.
Yeah.
Like when I first got into doing music, I was singing and then I was producing music. And then, like my son jokes with me today. I'm like, all right, I make music. And he's like, but do you really though? I'm like, not really.
Not
Like, this is what I really do right here, film and media type stuff.
Right.
But I just find it, you need both sides to be very effective in this music journey, because there's a lot of, like we were talking about last night on an episode we did last night, is that I was telling him, I said, this is the best time and the worst time to be an independent music creative. And the reason why I was telling him that, I said, because it's the best time because you have so many avenues open to you. You have so many ways that you could be effective, right? You don't have to just work with an artist. If you're a producer, you could be in sync licensing, or you could make music and then blow up on TikTok or Instagram, or and there's just so many different ways. But I say it's the worst time because the things that artists didn't have to worry about, they have to worry about now.
It's so much.
It's so and it's so much.
It's so much. It's like, yeah, it's got to be like another way, because it's too much to keep up with. You know what I'm saying? And then there's not enough people to balance out. For most artists, they don't have teams. They don't have people, that can flush out a lot of these things. Right. And so it's like, how do you handle all of those things? And I know people are coming up with stuff that can help artists manage these, all of these tasks via, AI apps and management systems and stuff like that. But it's still a lot.
It's still a lot.
It's still a lot to do. Yeah.
And I think, as you were talking about having teams, teams are important. I don't think a music creative can do it all by themselves. They have to have at least somebody else that can help to facilitate the other activities and tasks that take place. Like, oh, I got to register with the PRO. Well, how do I do that? Oh, I have to go. Oh, I got to do sound exchange. I got to do ASCAP or BMI. Oh, I got to do Harry Fox. Oh, I got to do all the. Oh, I got to register with this. Oh, I got to submit paperwork for this. Oh, I got to.
And that's just registration.
That's just registration.
That's what we talk. That's just the entities for registration. That's not to talk about all of the other things that fall into place.
It's just a lot that they didn't have to worry about. So what I like about having people like yourself is that you have both sides and you are advocating for the artists, providing them with resources and tools and tips to manage and balance their personal life with their professional life so that they can be effective. And that could be meaning finding resources for them to cope with the business side, the registrations, all of that. And then how do they balance their personal life, whether they have jobs or families? Because a lot of people have jobs, a lot of people have families as independent music creatives.
Or the things that they just go through, period. And how do you work around that and still try to like maintain relevancy in the space that you hold? And that's hard.
That's tough.
Yeah.
That is tough. So I appreciate you being there. I know they do. I know the artists appreciate you being there. Music creatives are like, who can I go to help me work through these things? And so if you're an artist out there, like tap into, I know it's going to sound cliche, right? Tap into tap management, because Celeste really is providing those opportunities and those resources to be able to effectively balance personal and professional. And that's the thing, is balancing those two.
Yeah.
So that you can be effective in your own music journey.
Learning where the holes are and how do you feel them.
That's right. So, and of course, this is things that you're still doing today. And then you added on music supervision to that.
Yeah.
So kind of talk about, how did you get into being a music supervisor?
Shout out to the pandemic.
Shout out pandemic. It really opened up the doors for a lot of stuff.
It closed and opened.
It closed a lot. It opened a lot.
Yeah, but I guess I got to give a shout out to Karen Marie Mason. Yeah.
I
She
love
probably
Karen.
got something to do. I know she got something to do with it. So
Love Karen.
I'm gonna just give a shout out to Mama Karen.
Got to.
But during the pandemic, well, right before the pandemic, I went to LA for Grammy Week. We were out there with the artists of mine, and like we were just doing all the things, doing the LA thing. We stayed out there for like a month, connecting, building, doing the things. It's a great time. January 2020 was a great time.
Great time. Great time.
And I had a call that Karen wanted me to talk to Sylvia Rome about a project that Karen was doing. I said, cool. And I'm like, this is a busy lady. You know what I'm saying? So I already had like what I was going to say together on behalf of Karen. They were really good friends. She was just like, you're out there, just take the call for me, blah, 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 blah. Cool. 5 minutes before the call, Karen calls me and says, I don't want you to talk about anything that we're doing. I want you to talk about what you got going on. And I'm like, what? How? Who? I don't even have nothing going on. I'm like, you want me to get on the phone with this lady that got like a million gajillion things to do in her life, and I'm finna be on here rambling about nothing. And so I got on the phone, and I pulled rabbits out the hat as much as I could. But I asked her one question, and I said, because she's a former resident of Atlanta, was here for many years, saw the music scene, all the things. I said, why do you think there's like not a lot of labels in Atlanta anymore? And she said, that's a question for you and your peers. And I said, oh, okay. I said, all right. Well, you ain't lying.
Right.
So then I went back to what are the problems in my community, in the music community in Atlanta. We don't have any infrastructure. We don't, everybody has to leave to get a check. Right. Nashville has publishing checks, LA, we got, plenty of checks. New York got checks. Atlanta don't have checks. So I'm like, how do people get checks in Atlanta? So I was like, okay. Then I started looking at like the sync industry. So I was like, well, this is one way that people can get checks in Atlanta, Georgia. Our creators, And so I started like building out this whole like 3-prong thing where I was going to do like podcasts for artists and sync and something else, like distribution or something like that. And again, I'm just like throwing stuff at the wall because I'm trying to figure it out. Very trial and error. But I was like, music supervision. I'm going to add that. I literally just like added it to a list of offerings. I didn't even know, like I know what it is, but I didn't know what it was because a lot of people think they know what it is, but they don't know what it is. They don't really know what it is. Right. So I just threw it on there, right? And I went to the AIMP meet and greet. I went. So this was like, I had been developing like this part for like a year, and then I went to like the AIMP like meet and greet, and I was like, yeah, I'm gonna just talk to a couple people, and I end up talking to Terry.
Good old Terry Nelson Carpenter.
Terry Nelson Carpenter, shout out to you.
Shout out! Can't wait to. She's gonna be on here.
Well, tell Terry no, she got a special place in my heart. But she looked at my stuff and she was like, "You a music supervisor?" And I was like, "Yeah." And she was like, "No, you're not."
And you looked at her like, what?
I was like, she said, you got to know how to do A, B, and C. And I was like, well, I know how to do A. I know how to pick songs. I know how to. But then she was like, you got to clear, you got to. And I was like, oh, well, I don't know. And then she said, you need to go to UCLA and learn. And that's what I did. So I went to school and I learned exactly what a music supervisor does. And it's a lot of paperwork, y'all.
I'm sure.
It's a lot. Like, I don't think people understand, like, picking songs is like 10% of the job. really. You know what I'm saying? But it's you ensuring that um, you get permission from every single person that touched the hem of the song.
Wow.
Okay? So if you got a song with 10 writers, you got to go find all those writers, publishers, and you have to clear it. You have to clear the master with the labels.
Mm.
And you have to pay them money. And you got to sign contracts. And you got to do all of those things, rinse and repeat over and over again. And then you have to make cue sheets so the writers can get paid. But the beautiful thing about music supervision is it allows you to pay artists. That's my favorite part. That's why I like it so much, is because not only do I get to help indie artists get more exposure, in film and TV, that trickles down for the rest of their career, you know what I'm saying? But also, you get to pay them.
That's important.
Yeah, you get to pay composers. You get to pay these people
checks
to do work that they do all the time. And sometimes they never get the recognition. So it's just like, to be able to be in a position to do that, to me, is like another problem solved. And then how am I bringing this career to my community? Because we don't have a lot of music supervisors here in Atlanta.
No, because they're all
in Georgia, period. Like, there's like 5 of us. You know
Wow.
what I'm saying? And so it's just like, how do you bring that? How do we bring the sync community? How do we get people to understand sync? People to understand it's not a gig. You know, it's not something that you just gonna get paid for immediately. This is a residual thing. This is film and TV. It's a different beast. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You do it one time. If the stuff keep going, you get another check. You get another check. You get another check. You know, so teaching artists that there are more ways to make money and be sustainable. No, sync is not for everyone, but
it ain't for me.
Yeah, it's a different world, but there are ways, and there are other ways, avenues that you could get out here and make your music work for you.
Yeah, the reason why it's not for me, I don't have the patience.
Yeah.
I don't have the patience for it. I don't think I could have the patience for it because, as an example, let's say I'm working on a song. I submit it. You want it, but then you say, "Oh, I need this, this, and this, and I need it by tomorrow." I may not have the ability to, and it's not so. It's not. I don't think it's patience. I think it is the flexibility.
Yeah.
To be able to do that.
Yeah.
I know people. I know people who do sync Clint. Like I did a whole. I'm coming out with a whole sync series called Sync Masters. Right. Matter of fact, I may. You want to be on it? You want to be on season 2?
Yeah.
Here's why. It'd be interesting to get the music supervision perspective, because it's sync masters, because it's about people who submit things for sync licensing. They create music,
right,
and they talk about getting briefs and how to make music for all of those, and how to structure music for sync, and do all that thing. But I think it would be important to understand from a supervisional perspective, if that's how you say, I make up stuff.
You can make it up. I do too.
How it comes from the other side.
Yeah.
Because I don't think a lot of people see that.
No, they don't. They don't get the perspective of like.
Yeah. Not unless they go to a seminar or a workshop or an actual class.
And it's still very, like, people don't know it's an umbrella profession. Supervision.
What do you mean?
It's not just the supervisor. There's coordinators. Those are the people you need to find. They do all the work. They do a lot of the work. So, yeah, most of the time it's like the coordinators are picking the songs. The music editors are putting temp music into film and TV.
Oh.
So if a music editor just happens to like your song and put it in there, now the people that's watching it are listening to this song over and over again. They might be like, let's just leave that.
Exactly.
A lot of the times that's what happens. So you got to understand, like, this is an umbrella profession, like,
Right.
It's not just the supervisor, but it's the coordinators who are most of the time responsible. The supervisors may give a yay or a nay, or if it's a smaller agency, they probably do all of it. But most of the time, yeah, you want to look at the coordinators. Shout out to all the music coordinators.
Yeah, shout out. because you don't really hear that. You don't hear that. It's always
Mm-mm.
when you hear about sync licensing, it's like, hey, make relationships with the music supervisors.
I mean, that is true, but all of them not gonna give you the time of day.
Mm,
And they have a lot of stuff that they're working on.
mm-hmm.
They're supervisors. So you think about if you go to a store or whatever, the supervisor isn't necessarily. If we at McDonald's, the supervisor will jump in when
Right,
it's busy
right.
to fry the fries, to flip the burgers. But they're making sure everything is running because it's a lot more duties to supervision than just picking songs. You have to hire a composer. You have to do this. You have to, it's a lot of paperwork, like I said. So you're doing more relational things, making sure things are in place, um, than just choosing music.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Now you think about it, it's like, oh, it's kind of like how music producers are trying to get to like these major artists, and they're going directly to the major artists when the cheat code really is to go to the engineers, because the engineers really
Yeah.
have the connections to the major artists, and they're playing all the music right there. And so
Yeah.
they have like that direct relationship
Yeah.
with.
And they probably trust the engineer more than they trust you. They don't know you.
They don't know you, but they know that engineer, and that
Yeah.
engineer is like, yeah, this song is the one. And that artist is more likely to go, okay, cool, let's do that one.
Yeah.
But I find it interesting that you said that there's temp music that they put, and sometimes they go,
Everything has temp music. Just about every little thing
mm,
that you do has temp music in it. I mean, film and TV most of the time do, because they, like sometimes the producers just want to, or here's the thing, like producers
well,
and
we do that.
directors choose music sometimes too.
Mm-hmm.
They say exactly what they're looking for. A lot of times, like people are in touch. Like Issa knows the type of music that she wants, the landscape of music that she wants to create for whatever project that she's creating. And a lot of other directors and producers do too.
Right.
And so that's where it really starts. See, it's not even about my choice at the end of the day, right? So I can say, yes, I have this flavor or this is what I like to do. I'm a creative, so if it was my choice, like I would be doing some very
Right.
but this not my project.
Right.
I'm facilitating the music for the project, but it's not my project. So the directors and the people tell you what to look for. So you're like, why you don't ever you? Well, they not looking for that. You know what I'm saying? So that's the thing. Like you have to really listen to the projects that you're submitting for. What landscape are these people even? Do you even know what you're submitting?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So it's just like, oh, send me some music for that. And I'm like, I have nothing that matches what you're looking for. And you have to be real with yourself for that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it's just like, yes, do your homework, like study the projects that these people are doing to know
Yeah.
if it even makes sense. Like, does your music even make sense?
Well, how do they do that? Like, if I'm a creative and I'm making music for a certain feel or style or show or something like that, uh,
Watch the show.
watch the show.
That's
always a great way, right?
Well, yeah,
Watch the show.
watch the show. Now it's different if it's something new. Of course, you might want to ask for a brief and say, hey, y'all got something new. What are you looking for? Yada yada. But most of the time, if it's already somebody that's established or like, you got a Martin Scorsese film coming up, go watch all his films. Quentin Tarantino has a very specific style.
Very specific style. Oh my gosh.
You know what I'm saying? So it's just like he has specific styles in every areas of all of his films. So it's just like, if I do smooth jazz, it might not. Well, then it might. I
It
don't
may.
know.
It depends on. It depends on.
Let me smooth jazz. Yeah, I was gonna say smooth jazz might be
It depends
good
on
example.
on the Tarantino movie.
Yeah,
the scene that he
I was
has,
gonna say yeah, but 9 times out of 10, like you know if your music fits to that.
Right.
Yeah. Well, if you do smooth jazz, maybe you should reach out and be like, hey, if you need something for a restaurant scene or this scene,
Nightclub
I'm
scene,
your person.
restaurant scene. I got you.
Yeah, But yeah, I just think it's like you really have to do your homework to be able to know like what the people looking for.
Right. How do you feel about music libraries?
I think it's a good resource. We have to remember it's a lot of music out here. And it's not enough people to supervise. It's not enough people to shop all the music, it's not enough time in the world to listen to the amount of music that you even get on a regular basis to
Right.
listen to. You know what I'm saying? So it's
Mhm.
just like, to me, I feel like everything has their place. Library is not for everybody, but it does have their place, and artists have become very successful. Some of them, if
Mhm.
you make good quality stuff and you make stuff that's syncable, which is that's another conversation. But
Sinkable, right?
um you could be racking up on the library,
Mhm.
you know, especially if you submit to a whole lot of like non-exclusive. Um, you have different versions of your songs.
Mhm.
Another conversation.
Mhm.
Uh, you know what I'm saying? I don't I don't knock it if it's a way for people to make money.
Look, so I have a friend. I have well, is he a friend or an acquaintance? Probably more like an acquaintance uh, that makes music for sync. I got
Mm-hmm.
a couple of them that make
Mm-hmm.
music for sync, and he knew that I wanted to kind of get into sync, so he sent me his template of how he
Mm-hmm.
makes music for
Mm-hmm.
sync. And he was like, "Look," he said, "I use this same template, and this template got me 8 songs in one episode." I was like, "Wait a minute." He said, "If you notice in this, maybe I'm giving a gem away to people, I guess."
Give it to him.
He said, "If you notice in this template, I have all the same sounds. They're all this. I don't." He's like, "I don't change any of the sounds. I just change the patterns of those sounds. I may
Mm,
change up the drums. I may change.
yeah.
I'll change up the pattern, but I won't change up any of the sounds because I know that if they've already used that, maybe in a previous episode or in that same episode, they're more
Mm-hmm.
likely probably going to use that again because it still fits the theme of that show." He said, "So I'll make 8 songs out of this same template with the same sounds. It just sounds different." And he said that's how he was like. He did a whole video.
Yeah.
How did I get 8 placements in this TV show? And he's like, "This is how I did it."
Yeah.
I was like, "Oh,
Because once you figure out the formula, you just run with it.
you run with it."
You run with it. You find out what works for you. Um, and
Mhm.
you know, that's why I say some artists are just that's all they want to do is sing.
So do you feel that there's a more of an influx of creators getting into sync than there used to be?
Yeah, because it's known now.
Mm.
People been singing music forever,
Forever,
but
right?
you didn't know that was happening. So now it's like, you know, creators are like, well, I'm curious. Like, what's this? How does this work?
But
How
do you?
can how can I get into this?
I don't want to cut you out, but do you think it may be because I'll say it this way, right? As a person who produces music, right?
Mm-hmm.
Me sending that song to an artist, I'm gonna run into a whole bunch of stuff. I'm gonna run into a whole bunch of stuff with that artist. Sometimes they don't want to pay.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes they may want to negotiate how much they want to pay.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Sometimes they may sit on the track for
Yep.
a long period of time, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, wait a minute, I can't. I gotta send this out to somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
Um, they may record something and it may never come out, or so now you have a lot of producers who are working with artists and it's really not going anywhere. And
Mm-hmm.
they're going, "Oh, here's another. Oh, I could do sync.
Mm-hmm.
Let me try to do that." And so now, and I know that a lot of producers that I talk to are now a lot more interested in sync than they used to be.
Yeah. Cause it's a faster return.
Faster return.
It's not a fast return. Let's get that straight.
Right. It's not a fast
It's
return.
not a fast return.
Right.
Okay, guys? It's not a fast return. But it's a faster and probably more frequent return for a lot of producers. Working with an artist, like you don't know. Like
You
the artist could just decide to switch directions or could record the song and then never make the album or, you know, and it's like how many artists, if you don't have a pub deal, you don't get to reach a lot of artists as an independent producer, you know, until you like build a name for
Mm-hmm.
yourself. But it takes a while. And so, you know, people paying you $100 a beat, something
Right.
crazy,
See.
or, you know, I mean, unless you was out here like, you know, breaking them off, 5K a beat, you can have it all right. You
Right.
know, which I probably would recommend. Sounds like a great business model. But like,
It sounds like a great. I don't mean to cut you off. It sounds like a great business model, but producers undercut each other. And the reason why I say that is because we live. I'm gonna say it. People know me. I'm gonna say what I'm. I think we live in a very scarcity mindset music world, where it's especially from a music producer perspective, because if you're a music producer and you're selling your beats for $500, and it's like, well, I need to get some sales. You know what? It's 250. I'll sell mine for 250.
The price is the price. Is the price. It's the price.
It's the price.
If somebody want to pay you $5,000, $10,000 for you, don't worry about what nobody else charging. You build your clientele, and that's the people that you want to. I don't care if you undercut me. Don't matter. That ain't got nothing to do with me.
Exactly.
I'm the one making the track.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? So it's cool. You can undercut me. It doesn't matter. If you want to come to me, you gonna come to me.
You gonna come to me.
Yeah.
That's right.
That's it.
That's it. I don't get it.
I mean, I get it because it's like that's the name of the game. I mean, it's just like anything else, like airlines.
$30 a beat, non-exclusive. Like,
yeah, I don't think people should do that. But you know what I'm saying? Like, if you gotta convince somebody to come to you because like it's cheaper, then that's not. And they come like, and you lose that client or whatever. Like that's not your clientele. So that's okay.
Right. It's okay. Because somebody's going to pay what you're asking.
Yeah.
Somebody's going to
pay it, and they're going to continue to pay it.
Exactly.
And, you know, if your work measures out to that, they're going to keep coming back.
That's right.
Over and over again.
Over and over again. Yeah. Over and over again. So how'd you get to Tyler Perry Studio?
So when I finished my school at UCLA, I reached out to a composer and I said, his name is Chris Leonards. Shout out to Chris. Chris is an amazing composer. He's been all around this industry, doing all type of amazing things. Look him up. Look his resume.
Damn. Is he here?
No, he's in LA. Right. I said, hey, Chris, you know any supervisors? Like, if anybody's going to know supervisors, it's Chris, right? I said, you know any supervisors in Atlanta? He said, no.
Nope.
You know, I asked a couple of my buddies here that do sync. You know, he gave me 2 names of people that do supervision in Atlanta. One person, we are very much still cool to this day. Yeah, that's my homie. I'm not gonna mention any names because the other person, she kind of like dismissed me. I was looking for an intern. I just wanted to intern. And she like the first thing she said was like, well, I don't have any money. I said, I asked you if you had money. I'm just trying to learn I'm just trying to apply what I just learned in school because it's so much information. Like, you know, I want to practice what I'm doing. And so, yeah, that didn't work out. And so I asked Chris, and Chris said no. And he said, let me think about it, whatever. So Chris is a very busy man. I didn't worry about, like, you know, following up. I'm still in school at this point, but I'm rounding third. So he comes back and he says, hey, I got a friend named Joel C. High and Sammy are coming to Atlanta in 2 weeks. They work at Tyler Perry Studios. And Joel at the time was the president of the Guild of Music Supervisors. Now, mind you, I don't know nothing about the guild. I could care less. I don't know enough information about this field to even care about titles or who you are. I don't, you know. So I'm like, yeah, I want to meet, like, see what we're talking about. So met with Joel and Sammy, and all of the ideas that I had, which encompass supervision, and they don't. And I won't speak on those things right now because we're working on some stuff.
Good, okay.
But all of these things we were aligned on. Okay. And we saw the possibility of what could open up in the city of Atlanta through this lens, right? So it's bigger than just, what we're doing is bigger than just like picking some songs. Like, it's not, we got some things that we're trying to help with the infrastructure of the city of Atlanta, right? Music infrastructure. Yeah. And so we just, you know, it was like all of these things, all of these ideas were kind of like coming together. Shout out to Karen again, because she randomly came up in the conversation. And Joel had worked with Karen in supervision. I had no idea Karen even did supervision.
Mm-hmm.
You know, this was my mentor. I oftentimes say we didn't talk about music. You know, we talked about life most of the time, but I didn't know that she even did supervision, you know, under some shows for Tyler Perry at all. I didn't know that until having this conversation. And he didn't know that I knew her.
Wow.
He just asked me, did I know her?
Right.
You know, so it's just like crazy. So again, shout out to Karen. Always
Shout out to Karen.
being around somewhere.
Yep.
And so we left the meeting and he was like, yeah, I might want some help on the show doing some cue sheets. I said, cool. You know, just green. I don't know nothing about nothing. And I guess like a month or two rolled by and I got started working on cue sheets for the show, Young Dylan. And you know, I got thrown into the water, which is fine. I eventually learned how to swim.
Right.
And that one show turned into like 4 shows. And then that turned into like some more shows and movies. And that's how, like, the rest is history.
Wow.
Yeah. It went very fast.
It went very fast.
Very, very fast.
Yeah. And it went fast because you had the right people there along your journey to provide those keys, I would say.
Yeah. I mean, you know, to me it was like a God thing. You know, for you that do or don't, for me, that's what it was. Because I couldn't have scripted that.
Right.
Like, there's no way. Like, this stuff happened so fast. Here we are, it's 2024, right? I finished school in June of 22. And I've worked on about 8 or 9 projects already in a year and a half, basically, like almost 2 years. So it's like exponential. Like I didn't even know what to expect from this industry at all. I just knew this is what I wanted to kind of get into. And so to be able to have these opportunities so quickly, yeah, to me, it's just like a God thing. Like, there's no way.
Wow.
I've never done anything this easy in my life. Yeah.
And then that means that this is probably something that you were meant to fall into and to provide them checks. Right. And that's a great way to provide checks too.
Man, listen, I get so excited every time like I see who the writers are or something like that, because I like really be into music. So I know most of the liner note people than most people. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like, man, when I see this person is getting a check or that person is getting a check, Isaac Hayes has his first Billboard #1 off of Mia Copa.
Wow.
You know? And so it was a song that Kelly Rowland, Walk On By, Kelly Rowland actually chose the song. And just to know that you cleared that piece of music and made it possible for it to even be in the movie. And now this man, who is one of my favorites, has his first #1 hit ever.
Though.
Like on, that's crazy to be able to do that. And so that's the type of thing that like brings me joy in this profession, is to be able to do that. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Can I share my Karen Marie Mason story?
Absolutely.
So I attended, Karen has a very dear place in my heart. I didn't know Karen from anyone. And I ended up going to see how this works out, right? So I'm in St. Louis, right? Coming from St. Louis before I moved from St. Louis to Atlanta. I used to travel a lot for my job, you know, doing organizational development and leadership training. And so I happened to be doing a class in Orlando for a bunch of leaders in Orlando. And Gene Culver, who's in Orlando, was putting on a conference. It was the first music placement conference that he was doing, the very first one. I was like, I'm in Orlando. Excuse me. I'm in Orlando. I usually want to go to music places or conferences or seminars when I'm in that city.
Yeah.
I was like, cool. I bought my ticket. I'm going to this place. Met a whole bunch of people. And in this conference that he put on, Karen Marie Mason was there. She was a speaker, right? A speaker with her, another guy named Carl Borden, and Gene, and a whole bunch of other music supervisors, and all this other stuff. And so, and Karen in this conversation mentioned about having a platform that um, gave exposure to artists,
Mm-hmm.
and listening to different artists. Because prior to her, another lady was talking about, what makes it really easy for us is if we can have a place where artists can post up their music, and we can just go there and go, okay, I like this, I like this, let me use this,
Mm-hmm.
you know. And in this conversation, I was like, "Oh, me," and they were like, "Yeah, what's up?" Like I say, I have a platform called We. It was no TV at this point. It was We Create Music,
Mm-hmm.
and the platform. And I explained it to him. I said, "I have a platform. It's currently on Instagram where I promote other artists' music, and I give them a platform for other people, for them to
Mm-hmm.
be discovered by other people." After that, um, we were on break. Karen came up. Karen was like, "Hey, hi, I'm Karen Marie Mason, um, and I'm interested in what you were talking about." Right? I didn't know she
Mm-hmm.
had the whole Facebook community. None of that.
Yeah,
No,
yeah,
I didn't
yeah,
even know who she was at this
yeah.
point. Um, and so she was like, "Here's my number. I'll let us speak with you more about it. Let's stay in contact." And just over that period of time, Karen and I would frequently talk about music and the platform and artists.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and how to network with artists and give artists a platform and all this other stuff. I ended up joining her Facebook community, and all of that. And then I would come down here often, and I will always see Karen. And
Mm-hmm.
she was, and it is so funny because in Atlanta, there's like 1 degree of separation from
Yeah,
anybody else.
everybody.
So James Caldwell, who
Mm-hmm.
was over there with us at AIMP, and I didn't know this. He put on a sync. I forgot what it was called, and I attended that, and Karen was like, "Hey, are you going to this?" I said, "Yeah, I'll be there." And so here she comes walking in. She sat right next to me. We had a conversation,
Mm-hmm.
and then she went up to go speak. Um, but she has a very dear place in my heart because of the relationship that we built over a certain period of time. And I had no clue about any of the accolades that she had, the things that
She
she's
never
worked
talked
on.
about it.
We never talked about those types of things. Every time I would see her,
Yeah.
it was like, "Hey, Brian, hey, let's go to lunch. Let's talk about this. How are things going? How are you?" And then I found out, and she shared with me about what was happening with her. And I was like almost devastated. So when I ended
Yeah.
up seeing the news, I was, oh,
Yeah, man.
I was like, oh, but yeah. So I had no clue who Karen Marie Mason was, um, until I eventually had the relationship with her and came down to Atlanta.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and
She's just infectious though.
she's very infectious.
It
Just
it
her
was it was
personality.
the spirit that was infectious, I think, and the reason why she touched so many people
Hmm.
was because her heart was always in the right place.
Yes,
It didn't matter what she
always in the right
did,
place.
but that was the thing that she told me. It don't matter what you do, but how do you affect people?
Yep. How do you
Yeah,
affect people? Yeah, she was an amazing person,
yeah.
amazing woman. So I got a couple more questions.
All right,
I know we
let's get
almost.
into them.
I'm looking at the time. I'm like, I know where we are in time, but um, okay. So we talked about Tyler Perry Studios. Um, we kind of talked about your advocacy for independent artists. So let me ask you this. So if I go back and talk about advocating for independent artists, when you look out at the landscape today,
Mm-hmm.
what do you see are some of the major challenges that artists face, and kind of what would you kind of tell them um, about how to deal with some of those situations?
Well, number one, I feel like two big things that artists face are, um, and all this is in resources categories, but teams as a resource, uh, and funding.
Hmm.
Like some people are brilliant. They are great at what they do. The sound is there. All these
Mm-hmm.
things are there, but they don't have the funding resources to invest in themselves and to invest in their business the way that they need to because, most of them time the money goes to bills or whatever the
Right.
case you have. And so um I'm glad you asked me because I'm starting
Uh oh.
funding
Ooh.
situation for artists. And
Mm.
my goal is to empower them to be able to and give you the tools and to help you go and actually get the funding that you need for your projects. Um, and you can do it by yourself. This is how every business is run in America, but we don't
Yep.
translate it to
Exactly.
artists. And so it's
Right.
like, how do I start? How do I da 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 da? We always want to depend on a grant that 10,000, a million people going up for, right? And then like one or two people can get that grant, you know, and we still need more grants. Hello, grant people.
Grant people, let's go.
You know, but at the same time, it's just like crowdfunding that get old. Like, how many times you gonna crowdfund?
I'm an Indiegogo to death.
You know what I'm saying? And then you you're crowdfunding for like a project, and then once that money's depleted, and then, you know, did you budget in marketing for that, or like did you, you know, how do you get more money off the money that you just put in, or whatever the case may be? So it's just like, I want to teach artists like you are a business, like you are a legit business. I saw this article the other day, and this lead singer from this band, I think the band's called English Teacher in the UK. She said artists are the biggest employers in the music industry.
Oh yeah, of course.
And it's so true. Like, it's true, but y'all ain't got no money. And
no
the
money.
last one to eat, because guess what? That's what entrepreneurs do in their business, right? You have to pay everybody else before you get the last. But we still don't look at artists like as a business, and artists don't look at themselves as a business. And so I want to teach you, like, yes, if you structure these things in this way, you can have funding all the time to do what you need to do, to invest into your business, to put yourself out there, to make sure you're marketing yourself, because once the product itself costs a lot of money. So we saying, like, you know, $10,000, that's a mix and a master. That's not including if you pay producers, if you got features, if you got, you know, and this is before it even come out.
And you got to pay them.
Yeah. And then your music suffers, or the project suffers, because you're not able to do the things that you want to do because financially you're strained, right? And so then you find yourself in this little rat race of doing smaller things with your music than what you want to do, because you don't have enough funding to support it. You don't have enough funding to make the art. Now you don't have enough funding to get out there and market it. Like, that's the biggest thing.
I don't think, you know, honestly, I don't think they know that.
I think they do, but it's like, it's so many things that you have to focus on, and it's so many things that you have to do, that sometimes the biggest thing takes the hardest hit. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And so it's like, yes, the music is big. Oh, the music is great. The music is whatever. But at the same time, it's just like, you have to bring the product to market. And a lot of times we miss that because we don't know, we don't have the resources to do that, because it all takes money. Like, this industry is expensive. It
takes money.
It's expensive. And so to me, like, just like I said, having a team that can help you strategize that, you know, having strategy based around like what that looks like when you put out a record, what are the things that you need to do, how do you put the tour together, how do you put the radio tour together, are you doing radio? Radio is not dead.
It's not dead.
It's not dead. No one cares about you charting #1 on iTunes anymore. Yeah, but Spotify, it's changing. Like, all the things are always changing. And so you just have to know, like, there's other ways for you to reach the people. As long as there's people on earth, somebody gonna be listening to your music.
That's right.
You know, but you just gotta know where to go find them. And that's why you need a team, or you need a strategist. At the very least, pay somebody to help you come up with a strategy. You might be able to pay people for like a short period of time instead of having somebody be
put them on
a longevity person with you.
Excuse me. Put them on retain somebody.
Yeah, for even if it's a couple months, just to help you get it together. You might not be able to afford them like moving out, but yeah, I have tons of ideas with stuff like that. But like, that's to me, those are the biggest problems I see for indie artists, is not having strategy, not having plans, lack of team, and funding.
So if I was an artist and I was getting into this industry and I was looking to develop a team, like, who would I need to, like, what would be the things that I would need to do first? who could I go to? So, oh, I need like I
Well,
don't even know how to
first you
put a
need to
team
know what you're
together.
looking for. Number
Mm,
one, you can't just be like, I mean, yeah, I say, yeah, you need a team, but like there's different levels of artists too. So everybody's success look different.
mm-hmm.
And you don't have to be out here, with your face on Times Square to be a successful artist. There's a lot of artists out here
Oh
making
yeah,
bank,
bank a lot of
and
money,
you don't know their
a lot of
name.
money.
You don't know their name, but they got it
Exactly.
going on. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So it's like, um, so I think it's just like really defining what you need in your house of cards to make yourself
Mm-hmm.
successful, right? So you could say, all I want to do is do cover songs and travel around. So who do you need on your team? You know what I'm saying? So you
Mm-hmm.
might say, man, I just need somebody to help me with booking. That's all. I just want to make all these songs. I can record myself or whatever the case. I just want somebody to help me do my booking. So
Right.
it might not even be about finding a booking agent, but there's a lot of resources we can have where we have tools to find, you know, uh coffee
Mm-hmm.
shops across America or little venues or whatever, it's so many different resources now, but gathering up those resources and then finding somebody that actually put in the work and send out the emails and stuff like that. So that could be all that person needs. Whereas another artist who's trying to, has a bit of traction, who wants to take their career to, the next level, whether it's like working with bigger artists
Mm-hmm.
or more, whatever you need on your team, you might say, hey, I might need a social media person. I may need a manager to handle the weight of like all the stuff that's coming in. Like,
Mm-hmm.
most people want to get managers and don't have anything to manage. Like you don't have
Nothing to manage.
nothing to
I
manage.
need a manager though.
You need a manager. No, you don't
No,
need
you
a
don't.
manager. You gotta like what are you even doing? You know?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like most of the time the manager is to come in and to play coach and to wrangle all of the things that you have going on, at one time. And a lot of y'all ain't got one thing going on at one time. So it's like, no, you might not need a manager.
Right.
You might just need somebody to help you strategize to get to the next point. So it might take, instead of asking a manager to be your manager, maybe ask them to say, hey, can you help me? Can you point out like the things that I need to be doing in order to get from A to B, whatever your A to B is, right? Like I said, like once you get to a certain caliber, you could like, oh, now I need social media. I might need a publicist for this project. I need a booking agent. I need, a business manager, just depending on where you are in your career. But you have to be able to take evaluation of where you want to go in order to decide who's going to be on your team or what do you need on your team. Who can you afford to be on your team at that time? And then what are ways that, you can kind of maximize the result for whatever you have at the time.
No, that makes sense, right? That makes sense. I wonder how many artists, music creatives, are actually doing any type of internal assessment to determine where do they want to be, what type of career they want to have,
Yeah,
what do they truly want to do, and then how can they start creating that roadmap for themselves
exactly.
that will say,
Yeah,
hey, here's the trajectory I want to go, and along this trajectory, here's how I can
yeah.
determine and fit in those different.
That's what I love to do is to create the roadmap because a lot of
Mm,
artists don't know.
mm-hmm,
They just doing a whole bunch of stuff
mm-hmm,
and then hoping something happens. It don't work with hope. It
right.
does, but you got to have the hope and the plan. Like you
Yeah.
can't
Yeah.
just be out here aimlessly doing something.
And just
Everything is
throw it against the
methodical.
wall.
Yeah. People like, oh, they blew up off of this. It's methodical. Even if they don't think it was, it is.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like I have a friend right now that's having a minor success um with his artistry and it's kind of like blowing up on like TikTok and kind of doing it. And you know what he said? Like now me and him talk strategy all the time. He literally just took some of the strategy that we were doing and applied it. It's still methodical of
It's still
how you
exactly.
know what I'm saying? Like how it's happening. It's still methodical. Like
Right.
it's not just like, you know, we're not throwing noodles at the wall and
Exactly.
seeing it, what sticks, and every artist that you see, you like, man, they did this and that. Trust me, it's a
It's
whole
a
situation
whole plan
behind them
behind it.
planning
Oh
this.
yes. Yeah, and I think that's the thing. I think a lot of artists know, or music creatives know. When I say like artists know, I mean like even music producers or
Mm-hmm.
engineers or actual singers and rappers.
Yeah.
Like there's a trajectory for everything, right? So as an example, so when I started doing actual music production, because I knew I was going to be an artist, I knew
Mm-hmm.
that I was going to be a singer, right? Even though I sang in the choir and in different
Yeah. Yeah.
groups, I was always afraid to sing by myself. So I knew I wasn't going to ever be a
Right.
solo
Right.
singer. So I was like, I'm just going to go figure out how to make music. And that's what I'm going to do. But I still had to have a plan. Like, okay, I don't know how to play any music. I don't know how to play keys or
Yeah.
drums, or how am I going to do this? So what I did for myself, and it's something that I took from what I would train leaders to do.
Mm-hmm.
I did a SWOT analysis on myself.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Ain't no the artist doing no
Uh,
SWOT
Ain't no
analysis.
artists out here doing those. They like a SWOT analysis. It's like a
Yes.
SWAT team. Like, no, 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 like a SWOT analysis. So I did a SWOT analysis on myself,
Yeah.
and I identified what my internal strengths and
Mm-hmm.
weaknesses were.
Mm-hmm.
I identified what my external opportunities and threats were, and then I started to go through a whole plan and say, okay, well, how can I use my strengths to overcome my weaknesses? How can I use these opportunities to
Mm-hmm.
do certain? And I had to go through that.
Yeah.
And in there, if you look at it was a long time ago, but if you look at that SWOT analysis, it was okay. Learn how to play keys. Maybe I need to move to a music city,
Mm-hmm.
right? And that's how I ended up here in Atlanta. Um, but it's a roadmap. It's a
Yeah.
trajectory to make me go, okay, I have a plan. At least I have some type of plan of attack
Yeah.
of how I'm going to approach
Yeah.
being.
Now the plan could change, the plan could
Oh yeah,
shift, and we
absolutely.
always have to be open and flexible to that. But even just going down the road, you can't meet people if you don't drive. You know what I'm
That's
saying?
right.
Like the car is parked. It's not gonna happen.
That's right.
Like you have to get in the car and go down the road in order to experience other things and see
Mm-hmm.
what else you're folding into your plan or what else unfolds out of your initial like
Mm-hmm.
roadmap. But you gotta do that
Mm-hmm.
with anything that you do,
Mm-hmm.
you know? But yeah.
Yeah. Uh, and once again, they need someone like yourself that can give them that structure in the beginning to help them build that roadmap.
Yeah.
Because a lot of them don't know, and a lot of times, some of them probably just it's probably one or two things. Either they don't know that there are people out there that do this, or they know and they just yeah.
A lot of
Because here's
people
the thing: it's gonna cost.
don't trust the process and don't want to invest in themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you really want to be in the music industry, like you got to keep going. Like I know people say that all the time, but like that's the process of like you have to keep going and you have
Mm-hmm.
to like of course formulate something for yourself, but also like you have to give it time and you have to invest back into yourself. If you're not investing anything into yourself, and I'm not saying just get out there and like just give people money
Right.
aimlessly
Right.
or whatever the case may be, but like yeah, just learn what you need and like invest in it. If it's lessons, it's lessons. If it's, oh, I need to work on my stage presence, invest in that. Like
Mm-hmm.
find somebody to coach you in that. That's a part of your team at that time.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying? Like your team could ever be changing throughout your career. You
Mm-hmm.
may, need one thing now that you don't need in the future or vice versa or whatever. But like, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And the beauty of it is that there are people who are probably on the creative side that need to be on the other side.
I was gonna say that. But that's the beautiful part of the roadmap is that sometimes you walk down and you realize like, oh, I'm really good at this.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not so great at being an artist because
Right.
being an artist, there is a big difference in you can do something versus being an artist.
Being an art, exactly.
Like there's,
That's it.
yeah. So along this road, you might find out that, oh, I am actually better at pulling all pieces together
Mm-hmm.
or doing A, B, and C. And you might end up on the other side and you might become a great manager or,
Right.
a great strategist or consultant or
Right.
whatever you do on this side, you could benefit a whole lot
Mm-hmm.
more artists than you trying to be the artist. But you don't know that until you start walking.
That's right.
walking down the thing.
You don't know that.
Yeah.
And so it kind of reminds me of a conversation. Wasn't really a conversation, but it was a story from Troy Taylor
Mm-hmm.
and how he started off as an artist and singing and doing, and then he eventually became a not a music producer, but a vocal. I don't remember the title he gave himself, but it was like a vocal strategist or something like that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because then he found that he was really good at getting artists to be the best that they could be through their vocals. So like when he was working with Boys to Men, which I
Mm-hmm.
didn't even know that he was working on this amazing album that I love over there. And that's what he was coaching Boys to Men on how to
Yeah.
do their vocals because
Yeah.
he was a vocalist. And
Right.
so he took what he knew from this experience that he had and applied it to helping other people be
Yeah.
effective and successful in what they do. Um, and I think that's sometimes you find, like for myself, I can make music. I know how to make music. It sounds pretty good. I did an album. People like it. I did a couple other songs. People like it. I know there are other people who are better at making music than I am, but there are not a lot of people who are better at doing some of the other things that I'm better at doing,
Right.
which
Yeah.
is tying in things like organizational development, strategy,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
leadership, planning,
Yep.
project management into the music side, the music business side.
Right.
Um, that's why my son jokes. He says, "Oh, I'm gonna go. Oh, I make music." He was like, "But do you really though?"
Side hustle.
He was like, "You really don't." He said, "You really do other stuff." I'm like, "You're right.
Yeah.
I really don't." So I buy music gear, but I don't really make music
Right.
like that,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I'm not Timbaland or Metro Boomin. I don't spend all my time in the studios like Zaytoven making
Yeah.
actual music.
Yeah.
But my job is helping other artists get the resources that they need through this platform,
Right.
and that's my ultimate goal. I'm like you. I want to provide them with the resources, the knowledge, the skills, the abilities to be effective, and I want to give it here. If you go to any place for all the information that you need, you can get it from us.
Yeah.
Because we have it all through interviews, through conversations, through music panels,
Mm-hmm.
through documentaries, through whatever it may be, sync masters. We can give it to you all.
It's amazing.
So yeah, I'm better on this side than
Then the other
that's
side.
yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think I'll be an effective or successful singer, even though I wanted to be. Like my goal was to sing with Boys and Men. That didn't happen.
Oh.
Sean, you know that
Well,
Nate, Wanya,
I'm
I want to still
sorry.
I want to still do that, but
Maybe one day you get like a little.
I'm gonna be 80, and they, I want to say that, but uh, maybe I don't think I would
Hey, you
ever.
never know.
No, I think
You
that
you might get a little opportunity.
I think this
You
I
might not
know.
go on the road.
I don't know, but I have dreams about it, like actual complete dreams of singing like Boys and Men or Brian McKnight or literally I. And every time I wake up, tell my wife, she just looks at
Please.
me like,
Hey,
then just do it. Like, but anyway,
that's funny.
I'm scared to
Let
do
me
it.
know when the concert
I'm
is.
scared. I'm scared to do it. Um, okay, two more questions. Do you think streaming platforms impact music supervision in any way?
I mean, yeah, it's a discovery tool.
Mm,
It can. It can. I mean, like that's where you find music is on the stream. You don't find them anywhere else. I'm not going to the record store
true.
and being like, oh, what do I want to put in this?
True. Yeah.
Yeah. So no, that's like,
Do
yeah.
Do you think it has a? So I guess the question, what I mean from that is, do you think it has a um, do you think it has any type of negative impact on the music landscape when it comes to music creatives and music supervision?
As far as like streaming and supervision, I don't know if it has like anything
I'm just curious.
negative. Yeah, I don't know because I've found like some gems on there.
Mm,
You know, I mean, I'm a person that I don't just go for like the popular, so I kind of,
mhm,
I'll go to like fans also like fans also like, just
mhm.
end up, you
You go to Bandcamp?
know,
Anybody even still use Bandcamp
That is a great question. Yeah, they do.
or
Some
Reverb
people.
Nation?
No, no one. Sorry, Reverb. I mean, they probably do, but I don't.
Right.
Not
Okay.
not in this
Mm-hmm.
in the United States.
Right.
Maybe I
Right.
don't know.
not in the
I've
United States
not
either.
heard anybody talk about Reverb Nation in a very
Right.
long time. But no, I mean most of the time is like relationships, but then also like if I know somebody is looking for something specifically, I'll
Mm-hmm.
go search for that. Or if I already have like relationships with people that have catalogs, I say, hey, I'm looking for an artist like this or something
Mm-hmm.
like that. So it just really depends, but I don't think it like negatively impacts, because even if you need to like flesh out a song, you can kind of, or flesh out a sound that's needed, you can flesh it out using like streaming, and then you might go
Mm-hmm.
hit up other indie artists and say, hey, do you have something like this? Or I mean, indie artists are on there as well, so it's
Yeah.
just like, yeah, it just depends on, like, I've listened to a song on there that I had no idea it existed, and up and coming artist, I want to use it, used it, boom. Then also, you know people I have never ever heard of, they might have 1,000 listeners on Spotify,
Right.
used it. So if it
Mm.
works, it works.
If it works, it works. I
Yeah.
think that's the beauty of it. Is if it works, it works. If it fits into that scene, the mood of the actual film, it works.
Yeah.
Regardless if it's a big major star or if it's a small indie
Yeah. It don't matter.
person, right?
Yeah.
If it fits, it fits. Okay, so what would you tell anybody that is looking to get into music supervision? What advice would you give them?
Go get educated on what it is exactly. Take a class, whether it's Berkeley, UCLA. Do just do some research, because it's not just picking a song. That's what I would tell people. Because learn how to clear music. Learn how to clear music. Some supervisors don't clear, and that's okay. But if I could
But
offer
then how
some
do they get it
advice,
cleared?
they hire people like me.
Oh, okay.
That's why I
I'm
say
like,
learn how to clear, because that's a check.
true.
It's another check. You can pick the music, but then somebody gotta clear
Somebody
it.
got to go do the actual
So either you gonna
groundwork.
keep the whole check because you can clear
Mm-hmm.
and choose, or somebody can just hire you to clear music.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's the thing, because a lot of people, we can call ourselves whatever we want to.
Yeah, we can.
We can slap on a label of whatever we want to and call ourselves that. I'm a music producer, but are we really? Are you really though? Yeah, I mean, we make beats, but are we really music producers? Are we really music supervisors? Are we
Yeah.
really artists? Um, yeah, I mean, you got. That's why I love Motown. Like I'm a
Mm-hmm.
huge Motown. I love, but
Mm-hmm.
what I love about Motown is I love the music, of course, but I love the infrastructure that was built
Yeah.
on Motown,
Mm-hmm.
because if you're an artist, you're going to be an artist. This is what it is to be an actual artist,
Yep.
and we're going to put you through this um, regimen, I guess, um, to be an actual artist.
Yep.
So if you look today at K-pop, K-pop follows that same Motown structure.
Man, listen.
I'm tell you what.
They K-pop, all even before like the actual term K-pop,
Mm-hmm.
everything was rooted in like R&B.
Everything.
Everything is rooted in R&B,
That's right.
and the formulas that worked, and that's what they done. Like they know how to churn a machine.
Mm-hmm. They know how to turn. Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
they are a machine.
Yeah.
Machine.
And they'll have longevity more than some of the
Oh yeah.
American artists, because we just like, we need the dollar.
Oh, you got to get the bag. It's
Yeah.
all about the bag. Let me
Yeah,
get
they don't care nothing about your longevity.
none. It's just a bag.
Yeah.
But they do. That's the thing. Interesting thing I find interesting about K-pop and the machine that they built over there is that they are very interested in the longevity of those the people they put through those machines.
Yeah.
Um, and I mean, and they're spending countless hours doing the things that Motown would do, right?
Mm-hmm.
Listening to like the quality control. Who goes through quality control today? Nobody. I mean, Nobody goes through quality control. We don't have people that are listening to the music going, does this really? Not like what in the movie The Temptations, the character of Barry Gordy was like, would you rather buy the song or buy a sandwich? And everybody was like, I'd rather buy a sandwich. They were like,
Yeah,
are we going to redo this? Exactly.
Yeah.
And nobody really has that type of quality control today, which I probably think is why we hear so much music out there.
Yeah, because they've told us that you need content, 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 content. And so now you're trying to keep up with the demand. You don't got time for quality control because you're trying to get your numbers up.
That's right.
It's all this, like I said, you know, if we used it more as a marathon and gave ourselves a little bit more grace and time, artists, give yourself more grace and time, teams, you know, you could really build something where you have the longevity. Yeah. There's not gonna be a lot of like R&B artists and specifically, I don't think there's gonna be like a lot of R&B or pop or rap artists that have like super longevity. There'll be like names and they might do some stuff in there, but there's not gonna be longevity. Now, the other genres have more success with longevity because they have more niche fans. And they listen to things a lot differently, like jazz, even rock. I think rock has more, you know, niche fans where like these people can tour forever and ever.
Forever.
Yeah. Even like the small bands, like, you know, like they could tour forever because of like, it's not the same pressure always to perform in your genre as what is driving it versus like, you know, pop and R&B and rap.
Okay, I got another question then. So do you think that's why, I don't want to call it genre hopping, but do you think, because you're starting to see more people who do like R&B going over to doing other styles of music. They're now, you know what, I'm going to go now and be a pop artist, or I'm going to now do country music, or like Beyonce, right? So she did a whole country album.
Well, she didn't do that because she.
Right, I'm not saying she did it because she was trying to do that, but you're starting to see, or I guess that's the question: are we starting to see artists move into other genres of music to escape those pressures that may be put upon those within hip hop and R&B?
I don't know. I think you got to ask the individual artists because I think everybody got their own reasons why they do certain things. Because to me, like, you know, art is art, and just because somebody knows you for doing one particular thing doesn't mean you're not capable of doing something else. And sometimes that artist just needs to express that. It's not necessarily to stay there, but they just need to express that other side of themselves. And so I don't know that to be true for like, you know, every artist. I mean, some people may do that to escape the hustle and bustle that they have to go through now, but some people just might genuinely like, maybe that's exactly what they wanted to do. You know what I'm saying? In the beginning, and now they have the confidence to do it. Maybe they didn't have maybe that's, they changed, they got into a popular genre because they didn't have the confidence to do yeah, you know, like K Michelle's like, I always wanted to be a country artist, you know, so maybe now she just has the confidence to be able to like jump
to go do that
full into that, you know. But I just feel like artists change because artists want to change most of the time. Now, sometimes people are driving the change, not the artists, but people are driving the change. But yeah, I mean, I know we get selfish with our artists because we like them to do like the same thing, the certain things. Like, I think I remember Erykah Badu talking about how much criticism she got when she took the head wrap off. She took there ain't nothing else changed. She just took the wrap off. And, you know, but you know, as consumers, we get so caught up in like, this is what I need from this person, this is what I expect from this person. And
then when it changes, it's
it's like a shock factor. It's like, you know, you moved to a different city.
It's true. It's true. I remember going to last year. My wife and I went to. I'm a huge Boyz II Men fan, right? I love Boyz. I've been to too many concerts for Boyz II Men. So we went, and they sing the same songs.
Yeah,
and I've seen them sing the same songs many times.
Right.
But we went to a concert last year they had in Macon, and they have started to incorporate other songs that they love into
Mm-hmm.
their performance.
Mm-hmm.
And Sean gave a during the concert. It was funny because you could see there was a switch, right, going back to what
Mm-hmm.
fans expect of the artist.
Yeah.
They started doing some of the other songs, and as soon as they started doing it, they would say, "We don't know why people always get up and leave and do other things during this particular segment." And I sat there and I thought about it. I said, because we have an emotional attachment to
Yeah.
the songs that
It's all like
we don't want to see you
connected.
sing. We don't want
No.
to see you sing other people's songs. We want to see boys and men sing boys and men stuff.
Yeah.
And that's how people feel.
The
It's
same
like
with like Lauren Hill, right?
El Boogie. That's
Now,
right.
we're not gonna talk about the lateness and all that. That aside, people get upset because they don't hear the song like it is on the record.
Right.
However, and I get why people get upset because of that.
Right.
But the show is phenomenal. The way that she orchestrates on stage, the arrangements, people don't care about. They don't care about the artist being the artist.
Artists.
They really just care about what they're emotionally attached to and
Exactly.
how they hear it. You know what I'm saying? But
Yep.
like as an artist, the way that she moved on stage, and like I said, few people actually pay attention to these certain things, but like the arrangements, the hits, I mean, it was really spectacular. But a lot of people just,
Oh, she didn't sing,
yeah,
the song this way,
this
and I was
way.
expecting her to sing it this
I
way.
want to play the record. It's like, well, play the record.
Go play the record.
Yeah.
Because you're not coming to the show to hear the songs as they are on the record. You're coming for
the experience.
the experience.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
I get it. I get it. Okay, so what's next for Celeste?
What's next?
Yeah. It doesn't have to be new. It could just be
artist funding. That's an extra. It's just an extra thing that's going into the arsenal. And yeah, working on Atlanta infrastructure for music.
I know that's probably the things you wanted to share that we wanted to talk about. I'm interested in that. I'll just talk about that. So,
Yeah.
I know some of the other things that we were doing kind of, we don't talk about that, but yeah, I'm interested in that funding. I think that funding is going to be impactful. I know that there's a company now that kind of does something like that. I don't
Beat Bread. What you want to say?
know what's the name. Say it again. It's
Beat Bread or Sound Royalties.
Sound Royalties.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So here's the thing. I love Sound Royalties.
The Cap still over there? Is that? No, I don't think Cap is there anymore.
I don't think so. But I shout out to Sound Royalties. And I'm gonna say this, but you have to be making money off of your music already in order to participate in what they offer. But the fact that they don't tie you down, they don't own your masters, they don't own where you go distribute, they don't own anything, but you're able to get an advance off of the royalties that you already produce in order to finish your projects or do what you need to do. That was an amazing structure, and you don't have to do credit checks or nothing.
Credit check.
No, for real, because that's a
credit.
Yeah, it's a lot of times that's what stops artists from getting certain things that they need to do. So it's like I use Sound Royalty as a resource, and I tell people like this is an option for some people. It's not an option but because you got to be making money.
Got to make money.
But if you do, it is a great option to have in the funding bag. Yeah.
So I think what you're looking at doing is going to be very beneficial for the everyday independent artists who are looking for funding to further their career, their project, and things like that.
Yeah,
so
and for the music professional too, because here's the thing: all these people got layoffs.
They are laying off people left and right.
Hey, but these people at these labels still got these skills, and I'm sure they want to start their own stuff too to help these artists. And so they gonna need it too.
And what's really great is that now the whole Joe Biden thing no longer has the no compete.
Oh yeah, the no compete.
Right? I was like, when I saw that, I was like,
the no compete is so big.
So big. So big.
So big. Ain't no clause.
Ain't no
Ain't no
clause.
1 year,
That's
2 year,
right.
3 year. It said for most industries. So
Well,
check your
check
industry.
your industry.
But yeah, you could just go out here, poach clients. I am not recommending it, but
don't poach clients. But
don't. But that, I mean, essentially, that's what the whole purpose of the non-compete was.
that's right. So you couldn't poach clients.
So you can do that legally.
Yep.
Wow, worlds are changing.
So NDAs and those things are still in effect, but
yeah.
Now, if I was working for Sony in a particular capacity, now, and I was laid off or fired, and they gave me that non-compete, now I can actually go out and start my own consulting
Yes, you can.
firm or whatever it is, and get clients and do all those different things where they kind of restricted them from doing those things previously. Per industry, it depends on the industry, right? I don't know where it is in the music. I'm gonna go investigate that.
Yeah, I gotta do some research and see what
exactly. I forgot where that is, but
who, what, when, where. But yeah.
But Celeste, man, it's been a privilege having you on.
I know we needed a great conversation.
I appreciate it. I know we needed to catch up for a while.
Yeah.
We've been playing phone tag or text tag for a while. Just being really busy with a bunch of stuff.
Yes.
So I'm glad to finally hear about all the things that you're doing and really find out more about your journey and just how that trajectory led you to where you are today. So, any last words?
Keep going.
Keep going. Don't give up.
Yeah.
Don't give up.
Shit.
All right, then. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for tuning in once again to the Indie Unplugged. Thank you. Peace. Have a good day. Bye.